There is another interesting anecdote about Mataji that I want to share with seekers. It is important, as it brings out the value and beauty of reading reminiscences of and incidences connected with sages and saints. Every occurrence in a saint's life is a signpost for the seeker to either rectify his own flaws or to build up his virtues. Each one of them is filled with significance. Those who find these reminiscences as not relevant to them would have to at least read something good and interesting. Such reading is not a waste of time, as it is spiritually energizing. These readings fill the heart with contentment and take one into a state where time seems to stand still. Contentment, love, compassion, all are pure spiritual traits that put an end to the chaos of time and mind. When one's mind is active in divisive thinking, disappointment, disagreement, hate, anger, sorrow, jealousy, bitterness, and so on, they rule supreme. A reading about saints and their acts of compassion brings in a deep sense of contentment and a sense of time well spent. During my long stay at Anandashram, Swami Mundarananda, a friendly, cordial, and affectionate resident of the ashram, who took good care of me, would ask me to tell him stories and incidents about Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi. I obliged him for a few days. At that time, another resident of the ashram was Sashakala of Secunderabad. A young lady, she was close to Mataji. She was allowed by Mataji to serve her food and also attend to some of Mataji's personal needs. Mataji had guided her from her childhood. Madhurananda used to tell Sashakala whatever I had narrated to him about Sri Bhagavan. Sashakala, in her turn, was narrating all these anecdotes to Mataji while serving her food. On the fourth day, Mataji told Sashakala that instead of her getting those stories from Madhuranda, she should fix up a time with me and hear the stories directly from me and then daily narrate them to her. One day, due to some reason, Sashakala could not listen to my narration and the session was dropped. When she went to feed Mataji, she refused to eat lunch without a Ramana story. From the next day onwards, our story sessions continued in the mornings without interruption. As for me, I would eagerly await Mataji's reaction to the previous day's Ramana story. I was told that Mataji always called Sri Bhagavan her grandfather, while Puja Papa, Ramdas, ever remained as her father. Yes, Mataji's devotion to Sri Bhagavan was truly very deep. After these story sessions, Mataji started seeing Sri Bhagavan quite often in her room. On some days when she was suffering from acute illness, she openly said that her grandfather was very kind to her and was all the time with her, consoling her and even healing her. Swami Satchidananda told me that one day when Mataji was in a serious condition, he rushed to her room. He said that she shouted at him, saying, "Satchidanandanam, where were you? Look, my grandfather has come, and he is standing with his stick and kamandalu outside the room. Rush, go, invite him into the room, offer him a comfortable seat. Take full care of him, attend on him. Don't just stand there. Go, Go. When I went to her room early in the morning the next day, as usual, Mataji gave me a benign smile and said, "You see, I told you that Puja Bhagavan Ji is my grandfather. Yesterday, when my health became critical, he came, he sat near me and he healed me. I was thrilled. I did the only thing I could do. I got up and prostrated to her. I felt the powerful presence of Sri Bhagavan in her own physical frame, which of course was very fragile and was lying flat on the bed. In the course of my story sessions, I shared with Sashikela that the remarks of Sri Bhagavan about the conducive food of true spiritual aspirants, sadhaks, which I am sure will remain a permanent guidance to all aspiring seekers. Sri Bhagavan usually ate like all others in the dining hall. An attendant once asked to whether the rich food and varieties that were continuously being served at the ashram were conducive to sadhana. Sri Bhagavan first countered, "Why complain about anybody or about anything, especially the food that is given to you? One is always free to limit the quantity of the intake. Also, if the preparation has more spice or salt, one can add hot water to it, dilute it, and eat it without any complaint. Never complain about food." After a pause, he consolingly added, "For a true seeker doing sadhana, a little rice and rasam, pepper water, are more than sufficient. Even a serious sadhaka occasionally needs something palatable. If he continues to eat only bland food, he may get aversion to food. The tongue needs a little taste, and the body system needs a little nutrition for sustenance. Rasam, which is very watery, also contains the essence of the pulses, in addition to some spices and salt. Rice gives strength. That is sufficient for sadhaka. In addition to this, whatever he eats will bring about only illness and ailments to the sadhaka." Sri Bhagavan would take the little rice on his leaf plate, add rasam, make it into a thin paste, and dilute it further by adding more and more hot water. Having done this, he would scoop this mixture with his right palm and eat it. Never on his leaf plate was even a grain left over. The leaf plate he had eaten from always looked fresh and unused. After I narrated this to Sashikala at about 2:30 that afternoon, there was a knock on my door. It was the affectionate girl, Niru, with a big cup of rasam for me. She explained, "Mataji wanted this to be given to you. Please drink it." I asked her what the matter was, and she replied, "Oh, when Sashikala told Mataji about Sri Bhagavan recommending rasam, Mataji refused to eat the lunch that was already prepared. Instead, she asked us to prepare rasam, and further told us that she would henceforth take only rasam and rice, as advised by her grandfather. She also wanted us to prepare a lot of rasam and to distribute it to every resident of the ashram." I was thrilled. What prompt compliance and what great humility. No need to repeat here then that when I went to Mataji the next morning, that her first query to me was, "Did you drink the rasam yesterday?" This rasam episode is a practical, useful, and vital guidance for all true seekers across the world. Seekers in the West may not get rice and rasam, but they can minimize their intake of rich food by having a few slices of bread and soup. This is a clear instruction from Sri Bhagavan and fully approved and followed meticulously by Puja Mataji. Mature seekers should turn their full attention to the practice of self-inquiry, or whatever be their mode of sadhana, and consciously refrain from rich and varied food. Of course, one may occasionally indulge at unavoidable parties, and when guests come home or when on a holiday.